Welcome to the Realty Plus Real Talk series, and this is where we talk to industry experts to know their honest views and opinions and real facts and figures. And today we have with us Mr. Himanshu Agrawal, President TIKIDAN Danosa India Private Limited. The company is a JV between TIKIDAN Industries and the European market leader Danosa, and it is a leading manufacturer and supplier of waterproofing, acoustic insulation, and thermal insulation solutions. Mr. Agrawal, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Sapna, and thank you, Reality Plus, for this introduction.
So great, Mr. Agrawal, you are a veteran of the industry. You've been in the industry for so long, and recently we have seen that the construction industry, basically, which is known to be very traditional, is now moving towards more technology, more high performance materials. What do you think are the factors or the reasons for this change, and especially the change in the demand in terms of construction materials that you have seen in the last few years?
Yeah, there have been several developments in the construction industry across years. Yeah, construction actually happens, or the construction industry happens to be one of the oldest industries known to mankind. Yeah, you are right that recently there are a lot of changes that are coming in. Uh, this is primarily because of the demand of better construction, faster construction, uh, more focus on the environment. So, uh, the users as well as the governments, various governments across the globes, they are pushing for environmental friendly products with a low carbon footprint. Uh, Local resources, raw materials which are there available locally. They reduce footprint, carbon footprint, and this is what is being pushed across the world. Uh, on another perspective, the customer is becoming more aware about the life cycle of the products, the cost, the return on investment, and that is what is pushing the market into various kind of technologies that are coming up in the construction industry.
Right, that's right. As you rightly said, even the customer or the occupiers of the buildings, they are giving more focus on ESG, and that is where even now the developers are, or the infrastructure companies are also looking at better materials and products. Another aspect is about the government, boost to infrastructure. Now they have come up with a lot of initiatives to boost infrastructure of the country. How do you think this, this initiative of the government or the focus of the government on infrastructure is going to boost the construction industry and the construction, chemicals industry in turn?
Yeah, talking of India, because of the crisis, pandemic that we saw, there was the construction industry was badly hit in 2020, and the construction industry as a whole went down almost by 50% over the previous year. To boost the overall economy, the government has put in a lot of focus on construction, this being one of the largest industry. It's put a lot of focus, and infrastructure spendings are being pushed up. Now, infrastructure, once we push the infrastructure, then obviously it has a direct impact on the construction chemical sector, because to achieve high performance uh, of the structures or waterproofing or floorings, admixtures in the concrete, yeah, various kinds of construction chemicals go into the industry. So the more is the spending on the infrastructure, the more would be the market for the construction chemicals going forward.
Okay, that's fantastic. So, the industry has a bright future ahead, as Mr. Agarwal is saying. But in terms of, the challenges, what are the challenges that you foresee, as we were talking earlier about the supply chain disruptions, about awareness or the adoption by the sector? So, what are the challenges that you foresee in this segment?
Uh, the major challenges in using these construction chemicals is that in India, we lack the local codes, the construction codes. This comes as the biggest challenge as the different manufacturers or the different agencies involved in construction, then they follow codes which are outside of India. So some would follow the British code, another agency would follow the American or the ASTM codes, a third agency would go in for, say, a German code. Now, because of this, there is no harmony in what kind of product should be used or what should be the parameters. And this is really making it difficult for the end user to decide which is the right product for them, what should be the minimum performance parameters that they should go for. Uh, Another aspect is that construction industry has a reputation of being slow in adoption of new technologies. So even though the new technologies are coming in, uh, the users or the construction businesses, they keep relatively small budgets for these incoming technologies, and which is affecting the adoption of these newer technologies. Uh, in India, one of the major factors for adoption of new technologies or new construction chemicals is also the skilled workforce. Uh, we lack the skilled workforce, trained workforce, which is required to install or apply many of these new technologies. Uh, the skilled workforce is scarce in India, and one of the biggest problem is there are no proper grading or no proper training centers for this workforce where they can be trained. Say, I'm talking of the uh, basic level like masons, carpenters, yeah, these kind of people. Unlike the West, where these people are certified at various levels or various grades, depending on the skill sets they have. In India, we do not have such kind of things. And so when the contractor takes these people, he is not able to actually evaluate at what level the person is on the skill set. Uh, Another important aspect is the availability. See, when what happens is whenever a new product or a technology is introduced, one thing, it should be easily available. Second, it should not be monopolistic. It should be available from a few sources so that the customer has the option of evaluating the cost. A third thing is this uh, these technologies should not come at a very high premium. So these are some of the aspects which have to be looked into, which currently are making the adoption of new technologies difficult, especially in a country like India.
That's right. That's right. In terms of the percentage of the cost of the project, what is the figures for India and for other countries compare when we compare it, with other countries for construction chemicals?
See, at this point in time, I would say though India is fast picking up on the construction chemical usage. However, on a global scale, India still is very far behind in the usage of construction chemical on a percentage basis. If I have to compare it with the developed world, say US or Europe, so India uses just about 1% of the total project cost. So this is the percentage of construction chemicals in India. Whereas if I have to see, if I look at Europe or US, they are using almost 4% of construction chemical of the total project cost. Uh, Talking of a country like Japan, which is considered to be uh, using the construction chemicals to the maximum, it's using almost 6% of the project cost. So you can see there is a big variation, or there is a still India needs to catch up on the usage of construction chemicals to make their construction more performance oriented, which have a better life as compared to the developed world.
That's right. Long way to go, as Mr. Agarwal has just given us the percentages, and some of the challenges that he enumerated were, from skilled manpower, lack of skilled manpower. We need trained manpower. We need, more companies or more product providers for a better quality and better cost also, and also the change of the mindset of the people, and most importantly, the codes, as Mr. Agarwal mentioned, that we need to have local code so that even the users or the end users know what they are buying, and how do they compare that. So those are some of the challenges, but Mr. Agarwal, how do we solve these challenges? How do we tackle these roadblocks?
Uh, See, there is a solution for everything. It's not that, okay, if there is an issue, there is always a solution for that. Uh, I said, okay, let me go in a chronological order. I said that lack of codes. It's not such a difficult thing at all. Yeah, India has codes for other industries. They have guide proper guidelines to how a thing should be done in the other industries. So why it can't be done to the construction industry as well? It's quite easy. There needs to be a centralized regulatory authority which should make these codes. It has to be uniform across the country so that the end user or a contractor or anybody who's part of the stakeholder chain, they understand that what codes they need to follow, and then they can decide, okay, this is the right product and it comes from which manufacturer, which technology. So that's one thing that needs to be done. uh, Another thing what I said was construction industry is slow in adoption of new technology. uh, we need to have more open mind. The people in the construction industry have to have more open mind to adopt these new technologies. We should not wait to see, okay, let somebody else try it, then I will try it in my project. No, that's not required. Yeah, there are performance parameters which are there, and if we see that yes, they are being met, then it should not be such a big problem to adopt these new technologies. From a manufacturer's perspective, I would say when they bring in the new technologies, they should not be charging a premium initially, but they should try to make these technologies more conducive to the end user, keeping it at the right price so that it attracts the customer to use the new technologies. Uh, the government and the private sector, they should put up training centers for the workforce. Yeah, many of them are required in a place like India. Just a few wouldn't work, and regularly training of the skilled workforce. And as all technologies are brought in by the industries, so industries have to play a very major role. It can't be the government who just puts these training centers, but the private sector has to join hands with government on training these workforce. So it becomes a win-win situation for everybody, whether it's the manufacturer or the government or the end user or the contractor. And making the products available easily at the right price. Again, this can be done both by government and the private sector. Government needs to have the right policies in place to give them an environment, give the manufacturers an environment to bring in new technologies, and the manufacturers they bring in these technologies at the right price. I think these are some of the things that can be looked at uh, initially to push the things. One very important thing that would be required to take these steps forward is also having the right specifications for these products, where architects and consultants would play a very major role. So again, they will have to put these products into their specification for the projects, all upcoming projects, and which will give a boost to the manufacturers that okay, they know that yes, it's specified, and they would be able to sell these products to them.
That's it. I think it is the entire ecosystem that will have to work together, from the the private companies, the manufacturers, the architects, the specifiers, the government itself, in terms of creating awareness, in terms of creating the right environment and policies, in terms of the codes, as you mentioned, and also the skill sets for the people who will be working on the projects. So very correctly said. And you also spoke about bringing the technologies in the country. TIKIDAN itself has collaborated, has made a JV with the European market leader Danosa. So tell us about that, and the technology that has, the company has brought into India.
Ticketar Industries India did a joint venture with Denosa of Spain. Denosa happens to be a major player in the waterproofing sector in Europe, especially in Spain and Portugal. And the JV, which happened in 2012, the main purpose or focus of this JV was to bring the technologies, some good technologies from Europe into India. This JV is not simply a trading JV where Ticketar India buys products from Europe and sells in India, but the whole purpose was to do a technology transfer in India, to invest in India in manufacturing, so that it is in line with the Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat. And this exactly was done, where uh, investments were made in India, in the Gujarat plant. The manufacturing lines were put up, and gradually the technologies were transferred from Europe to India by Denosa. So when the JV started, it was like 50% of the product line was being imported from Spain and Portugal. However, if we look today, hardly 10% is being imported and 90% is being manufactured in India.
Okay, that's fantastic. Any latest product that you would like to highlight from the company in terms of the, that has been launched in Indian market?
See, many products have been brought in by Ticketar Denosa to India, and actually, if we see today, Ticketar Denosa, we primarily are focused on the waterproofing and acoustics. And in waterproofing, we have the entire range from basements to roof. So we have the complete capability to handle any project. And with the experience of more than 55 years in the country, and plus another 50 years of experience of Denosa, together we carry almost 100 years of experience. And whether you talk of preformed waterproofing membranes or liquid applied membranes, spray technologies, or hand applied, uh, acoustics is one of our major things which we brought from Europe to India. And these sound insulation products can actually reduce your decibels. Noise pollution, unfortunately, in India has not been focused on all these years. Yeah. But this is very much required as it raises anxiety levels in people, especially in infants and the adult and the senior citizens. So this is something that we are trying to promote. These are used across the sector, whether it's in metros or airports or the commercial buildings. These are used everywhere.
That's
So going forward, you would see a lot of more products coming in into India.
okay. That's fantastic. We are looking forward to it. In terms of growth and expansion, now this was one of the JVs that the company had made. What are the other growth and expansion plans for the company in the next few years, maybe?
So there are several diversification and expansion plans in the pipeline. Uh, One is we would be adding more products to our waterproofing portfolio. Uh, all these products would be manufactured in India. So we have already invested in more in land in India, and we would be setting up lines to manufacture more preformed and liquid waterproofing membranes in these. Apart from that, we are also looking at manufacturing thermal insulations, some drainage and protection products, sealants, and maybe even acoustic products may be manufactured in India after 3 to 4 years. We are also looking at expanding into new markets and geographies. So from India, we have plans to expand into South Asia, Middle East, and also Africa.
Okay, that's fantastic and good to know. In terms of the industry in India, the construction industry in India, the infrastructure, and especially the construction chemicals market in India, what is your outlook? Last 2 years had been very difficult for the entire country, the economy, and the industry as well. What is your outlook going forward for this segment and for the industry at large?
Yeah, you are right. The construction industry, like any other industry, in the last 2 years has been badly hit by various crises, starting with COVID, then labor shortage, raw material shortage, which led to finished good shortage, escalating transportation shipping costs, skyrocketing of construction material, supply chain issues. I mean, you name it, the issue came up in the last 2 years. Uh, Having said that, I would say for the last 1 year, the construction industry is bouncing back, and I would say I'm happy to see the way things are recovering because it is faster than it was expected. Uh, Implementation of things like RERA earlier, and also growing awareness amongst the stakeholders for quality. This is, in a way, driving the construction chemicals because without construction chemicals, you would not be able to do a high quality construction. Uh, Also, the customer is now becoming more aware about product life cycles, environment impacts, carbon footprint, recurring costs due to repairs, uh, return on investment, brand value. All these things are making the manufacturers or the suppliers of these materials to give to the customer quality products. Yeah. The demand is there, and the manufacturers are ready for it, and they are giving the technology innovations are happening, and more good products are coming to the market. Uh, what has also happened over the last few years is that for many of these infrastructure and even the private projects, uh, international architects and consultants are being hired. So this is actually helped because these people coming with a mindset of high quality construction, they are putting in very high performance parameters for their projects, which is making the suppliers and manufacturers of construction chemicals to provide the quality products. All this is fueling the demand for quality construction chemicals. And in my view, this is only going to increase with each passing day.
Okay, fantastic. As you rightly mentioned that, the customers are now, even the people who are occupying buildings, they are more focused on sustainability and health. And that is why they want buildings which are built with quality. And as you rightly mentioned, with the global firms now coming in from project management to construction management, even the architects. So now that has also raised the standards of Indian construction itself, which is good for the industry as a whole. Um, Before we let you go, what your word of advice for the industry? How should we look at the future? How should we look at the years that are going to be for Indian construction sector?
Uh, if we leave out the service sector, I think the construction industry is one of the fastest growing industries. And in a country like India, it has tremendous scope. Um, at least for the next 20-25 years minimum, there is enough land available, there is enough to for the government to pump in money in the infrastructure, from the metros, which are already cracking uh, under the load of population and other things. They are overstressed, and the construction industry definitely is moving into the B class cities, and then it will go to further to C class and rural India. I think there is no dearth of opportunities in the construction sector. The only thing what we need to remember as a government, as private players, as construction, or all the stakeholders uh, of construction industry, that the customer is changing, the mindset is changing. Today, the end customer wants high quality. Yeah, gone are the days when people lived under leaking roofs. Today, legal cases are filed. Yeah, so it is very much required that everybody gears up to the demands of the end customer. That's why we all are here. The customer is demanding, and we have the capability to service our customer with whatever they require.
Are we going to see more
So,
Make in India, more Atmanirbhar Bharat? What do you say, Mr. Agrawal?
yeah, we are already investing into that, because that's the way forward. Imports are no longer attractive as they used to be at some point in time. Today, imports are costing much more than what we can produce, at what cost we can produce in India. Also, from a perspective of building up our nation, we need to manufacture in India. This is something that all of us needs to look at. All manufacturers, all suppliers of goods need to look inward. We have to stop importing. Yes, we do. We can import technology, but we should not directly import finished goods. Uh, we all need to give our contribution in building this nation, and that's what Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat will do for all of us. That way, the supply chain issues would get resolved. If the products are being manufactured in India, the supply chain would be faster. Uh, in my view, the cost also now is different if we manufacture in India, unlike before. The service standards would become much higher when you are manufacturing in India. And we can become a hub, we can become an export hub for the globe if we manufacture in India. So, this is my view on this.
That's a very motivating note, I think Mr. Agarwal is leaving us with. And he, as he rightly mentions, is that there's a huge scope of construction, huge latent demand for infrastructure and for housing that we have in India, and we need to cater to that. And what better way to then make in India? And as the company TIKIDAN has said, that technology collaborations are what is required, bringing the technology here and then making the product, and probably making India the hub of the global hub for construction chemicals. So thank you so much, Mr. Agarwal, for sharing your views with us and sharing those very positive sentiments about the industry and the bright future that it has. So thank you so much for being here with us, and thank you for sharing your motivating leaving note with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Reality Plus, and thank you,
Thank you
Sapna.
very much.
Thank you.